John Garamendi, Democrat from California. Congressman, thank you so much for being here. Do you think the best plan of action, but the best path forward for Democrats is to support a resolution, or is it to go directly to the courts?
We have to do both of them. And probably a few other things along the way. Hold hearings, make the public aware of exactly what's going to happen with the military construction, or alternatively with the various public works programs that the Army Corps of Engineers has and their civil works. We have to go full on, and we've got to fight this out. This is a fundamental constitutional issue. It goes to the very, very heart of whether we have a democracy in which there is an opportunity for the people to express themselves through their Congress, through the Senate, or whether we have an imperial presidency where all power lies in the presidency. It is fundamental. We've got to fight this out. We've got to put it all on the line, and we will. We'll certainly probably, beginning next week, hold hearings. Jerry Nadler, the chairman of the Judiciary Committee, as I understand it, is lining up hearings to do that. That would be the first step of a repeal of the emergency. I think you're going to get Democrats and Republicans on this. Basically, Katie, we have a situation where the Republicans have called themselves strict constructionists, a very strict interpretation of the Constitution. Unless they are simply don't care about that any longer, this is the fight. This is the moment, and this is the fight that we absolutely have to have, not just for us, but for the future of America.
When you're trying to make your case, not to your fellow Republicans, but to the American public, yeah, and you being on the Armed Services Committee, right, and the Readiness Subcommittee, right, when you tell them the president's taking money away from the Pentagon, what will the Pentagon be losing? What are you going to explain?
Well, there's about $27 billion of projects that are outstanding, some of them from previous years, some of them lined up, all of them lined up to be underway either this year or in the very, very near future. These are critical projects that have been on the agenda. We decided in the National Defense Authorization Act that these are things that must be done. The Appropriations Committee put the money up. These are fundamental, and it's more than just a school in Tennessee. It could be the rebuilding of Tyndall Air Force Base down in Florida that was literally wiped out by the most recent hurricanes, or Camp Lejeune for the Marine Corps. Those are multi-billion-dollar projects that we're going to have to repair those bases.
And what happens if you don't get the money to do that?
Well, they won't get done.
But what happens to military readiness?
Well, the military readiness will decline. All of those projects were deemed by the various branches of the military and the Congress and the appropriators to be absolutely essential for our military to be able to provide our national security. It's in any form you can imagine. We know that we're going to build new missile defense facilities in Greeley, Alaska, at that base. We know that we have to repair the funding for the Pearl Harbor, for the base there in Pearl Harbor. It goes on and on, all around. Guam, Okinawa, major projects all around the world. And the president says, fine, I'll take the money. It's not necessary. This is taxpayer money. This is not freebie. This is not Mexican money. This is taxpayer money. Those projects will be delayed, or other critical projects won't go forward, and we'll have to backfill at some point in the future. There'll be a delay for sure. None of it is necessary, because this vanity wall is not necessary by the president's own terms.
What do you say to a voter, maybe a voter or a constituent of yours, who comes up to you and says, I believe the wall is a national security emergency and that it will make us safer? What's your response?
Then go through the process. The president is going to deliver in 2 weeks the budget for this coming year. If he thinks it's important, put that in the budget, put the justification, put the cost of money in it, and then we will debate this over the course of the next 8 months, come to a conclusion by next October the 1st, fund it or not fund it. That's the normal process. He has it. And I will guarantee you this, with the lawsuits out there, with the actions that we'll take in Congress, including hearings that I'll be conducting as soon as we get back on the projects that are at risk. It will be faster for the president to do it the correct way, not by usurping the power of Congress, not by becoming an imperial president, but rather become a president as called for in the Constitution, which says every year he has to put forward the priorities, the things that need to be done. Congress then debates it, decides whether it's important or not, whether we're going to raise taxes or not to pay for those projects. That's how he can do it, and it will be faster. But otherwise, right now, we're headed into a major, critically important fight that will determine the very course of this nation for years to come. If the president's allowed to do this, then he has usurped even more power than he already has. Can't let it happen. We have to stop it.
Hold on, I want to get just a moment more on that. You say it's going to change the course of the future of this nation. What do you think happens in the future if the president is allowed to do this?
Well, let's start with the authorization to use military force, 2001, Afghanistan. Presidents George W. Bush, Obama, and now Trump are using that ancient, out-of-date authorization to use force to wage war across the Middle East, in the Philippines as well as Africa. That is an usurpation of the War Powers Act of Congress. And now you add on top of that the appropriation power of Congress. And you add these things together, and why have Congress at all? Because the president has the power to wage war, has the power, if he's allowed to do this, to use an emergency, any willy-nilly emergency, and then go forward appropriating money on his own. We can't allow it to happen. And using the Emergency Powers Act, which we can only repeal with a presidential signature. And so he controls it all. And what of the next president? This one's bad enough. Maybe the next one will be better, maybe not. We don't know, but this is a terrible precedent. We simply have to stand and fight. It is the nature of our government that is at risk here.
Congressman John Garamendi. Congressman, thank you very much for joining us.
Hello, YouTubers. If you're watching this, it means you've checked out our channel, so thank you. Now do me a favor, subscribe by clicking on that button down there. Click on any of the videos to watch the latest interviews and highlights from MTP Daily and MSNBC. You can get more Meet the Press content every morning in the First Read newsletter. If you're tired of content that you don't know anything about where it came from, you don't have to have that problem with us. NBC News, MSNBC, MTP, and the Meet the Press mindset right here for you on YouTube. Subscribe now.